opportunity for these communities to promote people coming into their community and just doing a few miles, going to Bosque del Apache or the Rio Grande del Norte, national monument. And some people, some kind of hardcore purists want to have it be more remote, but I think for us and this trail and its location, we want to maximize all of those tourism, educational opportunities, which are infinite. And I'll also add that the legislation speaks to this commission identifying water recreation opportunities where possible. You have a whole outdoor recreation industry, house, people getting on and off the river and boating. We'd like to have more of that down south, but that is very much part of what we're looking at too.
Mr. Chairman, on that point, if when I hear of the Appalachian Trail with 13 chapters, and when you talk about community support, it seems like a logical place to start would be to segment this trail. And the segments would include cultural areas or community areas, stuff like that, so that then you're not looking at a 500-mile issue. You're looking at 10, 50-mile segments or whatever, 25 10-mile segments, something like that. So maybe that's enough. When you talk about a management plan, if we break it down, then it becomes easier to focus on. You're going to work in your area this time or this area next time, sort of issue.
You guys have mentioned cultural kinds of things a number of times. I didn't want to amend the bill because I thought it was a conflict to include the Secretary of Cultural Affairs. But I'll just tell my wife when I get home that we're doing this.
Maybe I might comment on that point at this time.
No, please don't. I'm just trying to lighten it up.
We may identify some people that the commission feels that we would benefit from having them involved in some capacity, and not only cultural affairs but the state land office. So that's something that we can discuss and see if we want to reach out to some folks that are not represented here that might provide some valuable input to us.
I think the congressional delegation was mentioned as well, which is probably a good. We have invited the congressional delegation. We do have some representation here today, and we've had I've had some discussion with some of those folks, and they have expressed a willingness to help however they can, especially with federal lands or issues. So we hope that they will continue to be involved with us. Now, somebody had a question. Who was it? Yes.
I just wanted to piggyback on a couple comments. One, Mr. Church's, just to clarify, the Appalachian Trail is, broken up into 13 chapters, but one of them has oversight. So there's 13 chapters under the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, and I think that's key. Somebody at the top and then smaller pieces. And also, just for what it's worth, those are completely linear. It's not, there's a Maine chapter, a New Hampshire chapter, as opposed to interests, culture, historical, recreation, whatever. So that's one thing to think about, is how you organize it into subgroups. And then to jump on to Rep. Steinborn's comments and Ms. Latham's comments, just being realistic, one problem, potential problem, if you want to promote the Rio Grande Trail, is that with the Rio Grande being the central organizing principle, is that the flow of the Rio Grande is highly variable, and particularly in southern New Mexico, in the winter, there's just not a lot of water in it. So you're going to have many, many miles of path that, they're going through Bosque area, but to the untrained eye, it's going to be, a path following a big, long mud puddle, which is what the Rio Grande is for a good chunk of the year in southern New Mexico.
Other comments or suggestions on any items 8A through D?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Regarding web page development, you know, I don't know at what level this has been discussed between your agency and with state parks. From a resource perspective, not to step on toes, but if it's something that the tourism department would be able to host at newmexico.org, we'd be happy to offer that. And then also, with regards to stakeholder involvement, we do have a very active regional marketing board program, and the proposed trail, once connected, will cross through 3 of our regional boards, North Central, Central, and Southwest. And we are, you know, excited to tap into that resource to engage stakeholders. You know, the easiest way for them to do that is into the tourism industry, but in many of these small communities, clearly there's, you know, they'll know those private landowners, and they'll know, you know, they'll have relationships with people that will be important for us to know and communicate with. So that's another something that the tourism department would like to offer.
Okay, we appreciate that offer, and we can have some discussion on that question here.
Secretary Brian, Fish and Wildlife Service. Just to bring up a couple points. The wildlife refuges along the Rio Grande have biological and cultural resources that would be impacted by the trail. So we want to have some type of study about the impacts to those resources. And we're very much in favor of it because it would connect our refuges, and including the new refuge by the south end of Albuquerque. But I would just bring up those concerns.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry to keep speaking up, y'all. Just that I know the bill inside and backwards draft didn't work well. I would encourage everyone to read it because it speaks to all the stakeholders that are invited to be a part of it. There's non-voting members, the federal folks. There's a huge emphasis on avoiding environmental.
Thank you. Avoiding sensitive habitat, and it's kind of an overriding concern. So I share the interest of that, and I think I would encourage folks to read this and disseminate it to other folks that are interested in the same subject. And the commission itself needs to know about this as we design paths, that avoiding sensitive habitat is an overriding interest as well, while at the same time balancing exposure to the resource and, you know, balancing that line. So
Yeah, this just got forwarded to me.
Sure. I just wanted to bring that out to you because it's a concern that we all share.
One other point,
Yep.
have you considered ADA access?
Actually, there's language in the bill about ADA access as well. In fact, it's a new trail is specified in here. That new trail, which will be most of the trail, is non-motorized, except for if you're in a motorized assistant device, so that if you're able to access the trail and you're in a motorized wheelchair or similar device, that it will be an exception in here on the non-motorized thing. As far as designing a whole trail to be ADA accessible, that's a hard thing to do. But there's language in here about that. You're right, so.
I think this might be a lead-in to talk about the web page. Now we can, and I'll ask Gabe Cisneros to come up and present some information on what we have put together so far, and we can certainly follow up and have additional outreach and communication with your department. We wanted to put something up right now that would give the public some information about the commission. We have, for example, links to the legislation, and I think Gabe can walk us through what we have on there so far and kind of what we plan to have very shortly.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Gabe Cisneros, Commissioners, pleasure. So this website is a framework to move forward with, and appreciate Commissioner the offer for tourism to assist with that. And I know tourism has a pretty robust content management system behind their website now, so maybe something to explore. So right now our framework consists of just under the MNERD umbrella, our homepage, which okay, we're on the split screen here. Can't seem to navigate. Thank you, Caleb. Let's see if we can get it up. Okay. Yeah, basically our homepage where we're going to have just some announcements and news right now to disseminate information about commission-specific items. We have discussed several options with this website and how it's going to evolve in the future to include galleries and webcasts of the meetings as recorded to be able to be acquired at any point in time. Right now, Mr. Chairman was talking about the actual legislation. We have a link to it right here, and you can go straight to the full legislation with an introduction here. We have a base commissioner area for the list of the commissioners. When I receive more biographies and stuff, I will list them here, and we can move forward. If you have photos or pictures or short bios, I can totally get these up there. And we have just a basic meetings page, which currently has a link to the ongoing webcast and our agenda and our public notice and stuff. And in here's where we'll, in the future, post other information regarding the commission and hearings going forward, and we'll have them up as soon as possible. But like I say, this is a framework to get started with regarding the commission itself. Other ideas that have been tossed around were a Rio Grande Trail website that would have either a link or a section for the commissioners and its events, because this endeavor is going to grow undoubtedly. So with that, I can answer any questions.
I know it's shocking, Mr. Secretary, I have an opinion.
Okay.
I thank you for your work on this, and I just, legislation also speaks to full transparency of meetings, proposals, etc. So appreciate you doing that. Try to get the agendas and stuff up before the meetings as well. But I like the idea, the Secretary, of having a tourism-based website, you know, to promote the segments that are there now. They're in our state parks. Now we have an opportunity soon to promote 6 state parks as part of the Rio Grande Trail. And, you know, whether or not Secretary feels good about that or you all feel good about it, I mean, it's worthy discussion. But I like the idea of creating something beyond just a page within the Energy Minerals Department website. It's very functional, by the way, and helpful. And maybe that could be the primary thing for people following the commission. Or maybe we want to search domains for the Rio Grande Trail that we can acquire right now. I think we should, actually. And maybe we want to make that the landing spot for the meetings and tourism. I don't know, but I'll throw that out.
Thank you. That's a nice thing about the web, because we can link back and forth, and information that we put on here may primarily be of interest to commission. Information that's on the tourism webpage would be quite different, but we can link those back and forth. Thank you. Any other comments or suggestions that we have so far?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Steinmore, that's an excellent idea about getting an actual domain name for the Rio Grande Trail. And if the commission wishes, I can start looking into that immediately to procure that. And then that domain name can be, as Mr. Chair said, transferred around and linked to and from.
And I would just ask if we could work with tourism. I think that's a very strong partnership that we should have.
Mr. Chair and Representative, just to kind of further that, we are very excited about our current partnership between state parks and the tourism department, and as well as National Parks and Monuments and the Department of Cultural Affairs for the Find Your New Mexico True Park summer video contest promotion. So I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to mention that. But we do see such value in partnering with our parks, and we have the functionality through a map that, as constituents upload videos of why this is their New Mexico True Park or New Mexico True Historic Site or Monument, it populates a map that then, as someone is searching for information on Elephant Butte Lake State Park, they see user-generated content from other folks saying why I love this park. So this is something that we're thrilled as a partnership, and are seeing great response and have just extended the dates into October. But through that, I do see great value in how we're working together, interagency, and I think the idea of having perhaps a commission page and then an actual trail page as an asset, you know, makes total sense, and that regardless of what domain we purchase, if we can host and help in any way, we're happy to do that, and even if we don't host, we will have plenty of information on our site regarding the trail.
Is there a comment on this topic? If not...
Yes, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This is Victor Feldman on the phone. I do support getting a domain name for the trail and then using every other avenue we have through the state parks, through tourism, to help promote it. So we would, if someone is looking up that trail for an internet search, they'll be able to find the realgrandtrail.com or .org, whatever we choose to use, but that one will be able to pop up very quickly if it has its own domain name. But then, as the Secretary just mentioned, using all avenues out there to support it on very different platforms would be great too, but I do support having its own domain name.
Okay, thank you. We might move into the next topic, which is the proposal for committees or work groups. And we've had just a little bit of discussion about this, but specifically, I think we want to get into it in more detail. And Commissioner